The rings that the main character and Mel lead wear during the whole contract relationship are rings that the Mel lead crafted. Rings he found, crafted for the main character himself, but he had the main character lied to and believed that the rings were just random rings the Mel lead picked up and not ones that were made out of his true love and desire for the main character. So we as the readers find out why the contract was built. The main character thought the contract was created to protect the Mel lead's sister and the ex-boyfriend, when actually it was protecting the Mel lead's heart. Not to actually keep the main character in line. Yeah, it was kind of for that too, but it was also mostly to keep the Mel lead's heart safe and sound. Because he thought the main character was pretending he didn't know the Mel lead, didn't know the Mel lead's existence, pretending that they didn't have those 6 months where they were like literally a romantic couple. He thought the main character wanted to push everything back and pretend like nothing existed. Those 6 months didn't exist. But he doesn't know that the main character got into an accident. Like us readers, he didn't know the main character got into an accident, forgot everything for 6 months, but it did help him reawaken, what happened with him and his adopters. Which also something is insane to me is like the Mel lead can find out that the main character was literally thrown onto the streets, but yet he couldn't find any information about how the main character was literally in the hospital again because he got into an accident at the ex-boyfriend's family's company. Like, he didn't find out that part. No, it took years later when him and the main character's having a conversation. Does he find out? Like, this man is rich. He can look into things. Yet, somehow when he finds out the main character was thrown onto the streets, he doesn't find out the main character was in an accident. That part makes no sense to me. The main character has the rings that, he painted on him and the Mel lead's fingers made. Well, he finds out later that the Mel lead also had those rings made, but the main character was just faster into giving the Mel lead those rings. And then also the Mel lead had bought a car full of roses that he was going to give the main character, but ended up not giving the main character, ended up giving the main character a rose, just one of the roses. The Mel lead is a good dad, but he's such a stereotypical dad. In this, like those stereotypical dads in romances where there are kids, where the dad is just jealous of the kid, and there are moments where he's just jealous of their kid. He's just like, what about me? Give me affection, give me attention. And the main character just be sitting there painting or playing or eating or putting their kid to bed, and he's just sitting there going, what about me? What about me? And the main character even compares him to their son, being like, oh, he's being temperamental just like our son. He's pouting just like our son. He's upset just like our son. And I'll just sit there and laughing my head off because it's so hilarious. The Mel lead kind of being treated like a kid by the main character. The Mel lead helps the main character fix his relationship with his family, with his parents. They even spend New Year's Eve with the main character's parents. He kind of bribed them. He bribed them into accepting their relationship and accepting their son. They absolutely adore their grandson. They even took him to an amusement park because they adore him so much. And I love it. The main character now has his parents, has a wonderful husband, and has a wonderful child. Like, that was so sweet. A whole happy family. So the main character was like upset with his husband and locked himself up, wouldn't return home, and so like the Mel lead had to go to the main character's worker, and the worker's like, oh, that's kind of probably my fault because I took a picture of a beautiful woman coming out of your car, which the Mel lead's like, oh no, I was just helping a friend, like there's nothing going on. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, boss. He's probably upset over that because the Mel lead was questioning her, how the main character was feeling, because he's using her as a spy. He literally uses her as a spy to tell him what's going on with the main character, and she gives him the tea every single time. And you know what this man does? He uses their kid to lure the main character out of his, his resting room at his workplace. He literally has the kid, he bribes the kid with stuff to lure out his uncle. He literally goes, son, I'll give you one gift. And the kid's like, no, 3 gifts. And he goes, 1. And he goes, 2. And they agree. And so the kid goes, uncle, please come out. I want to see him. The main character opens the door and the kid's like, oh, hug. And the main character's like, yes, okay, I'll give you a hug. And Mel lead uses an opportunity to basically shove him and the kid and the main character into the main character's resting room. And then after a bit, he throws the kid out. Like, he used this kid to lure the main character out. He literally used their kid to bait the main character out. And she asks what's going on because she can hear things knocking out in there. And the kid's like, oh, Uncle and Daddy was arguing, and then they made up. And she's like, oh, I can tell you're used to this. And the kid's like, yeah, I'm used to it. I'm like, how many times does the Mel lead use their son to lure the main character out? How many times does he use the kid to lure the main character up? Like, that part just made me laugh. These extras are just hilarious. I absolutely love them. But there is like, I will show you. There's literally 14 extras. Yeah, it's only like 100 pages, but there's literally 14 extras while there's just 10 chapters. Yeah, those 10 chapters are 200 pages long, but there's literally 14. Also, another thing I loved was the Arthur. The Arthur notes where they state that they didn't really know where they were going along with the male lead. And then when they had the male lead state that the main character was their future wife, did the Arthur themselves acknowledge that the male lead was in love with the main character and was like, oh, and knew where to go along, knew where to take the story afterwards? Was when they realized the male lead was already in love with the main character, they're like, yeah, I know where to take this story. I know how to take the male lead somewhere with this. I now know. They didn't even realize that they were writing the male lead already in love with the main character, and I love that. I really did.